berries, all twig. I got
all twigs, all fucking twigs, all day.
Welcome back, everybody.
Twigs all day.
Sausages.
Oh, good Lord. So much for not a long intro. We're getting into this video today for a reaction. It is Kings and Generals. Follow them on YouTube. It is about the Second Punic War. This is the first one we're doing of this. This is going to be a series. Let's check it out.
Do it.
It was the summer of 216 BC. The inhabitants of Rome had been greatly alarmed by a series of strange portents. A shower of stones had fallen from the skies upon the Aventine.
First things first.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Well, you go. You go.
The animation's kind of cool.
Yeah. Oh, wait.
Go ahead, Butch.
I didn't know it was animated.
Neither did I.
All right.
Hill. In the Sabine country, images of the gods were smeared in blood, while at Carrhae, the earth itself seemed to bleed, and the waters in the hot springs appeared tinted in deep red. Meanwhile, lightning had struck the Campus Martius, killing several men. Were the gods sending a message, an omen of impending doom for the Roman she-wolf? Thus far, Hannibal had managed to stay one step ahead of the Romans at nearly every turn. Yet as dire as the situation was, the young Republic was about to learn a horrible lesson. No matter how bad it gets, it can always get worse. On that note, welcome to our video on the battle that needs no introduction, the Battle of Cannae. The Senate had good reasons to fear the destruction of their republic, for they had been thoroughly humiliated by Carthaginian general Hannibal Barca on their own soil. Their armies had been soundly defeated at the battles of Ticinus, Trebia and Trasimene, and outwitted at the Agaphalanis. Only the timely intervention of Quintus...
What's that look like?
Oh,
That's okay.
okay.
It's total war.
Yeah.
I was going to say that's cool. All right.
Yeah.
He's integrating a pretty cool thing here. That's cool.
Neat.
Fabius Maximus, the delayer, had prevented yet another disaster at Geronium. Hannibal had proved to be a master planner, able to exploit the natural features of the terrain to his advantage. Moreover, he appears to have firmly grasped the psychology of Roman military commanders, choosing to give battle when and where the younger, less experienced, and less cautious leaders were in charge, turning their unwise thirst for glory to his advantage. The Senate could no longer tolerate the arrogance and sneaky tactics of this invader, who risked undermining Rome's alliance with the various Italic peoples in their native peninsula. As Hannibal moved south into Apulia, Rome assembled their largest land force ever, 8 legions of Roman citizens, matched by an equal number of Italic allied units. A force of approximately 89,000 soldiers, led by both consuls for the year, Aemilius Paulus and Terentius Varro, was tasked with nailing down Hannibal in Apulia and annihilating his army. While this was the Romans' most urgent operational objective, it was only one tile in their strategic mosaic. The consuls and the other magistrates knew very well that Hannibal's ability to fight rested on 4 pillars. First, his potential to turn the Italic allies in the south against Rome. Second, his silver mines and manpower reserves in Iberia. Third, political support and supplies emanating from Carthage itself. Fourth, Hannibal's Gallic allies in Cisalpine Gaul. Paulus and Varro's expedition to the south would address the first pillar. Hence they received the majority of Rome's military resources. However, the Senate did not neglect the other 3 strategic objectives. The second pillar had already been taken care of, as the Scipio brothers were already causing trouble for Hannibal Barca in Iberia. As for the third pillar, already in late 217 BC, a fleet under Gnaeus Servilius Geminus, 120 quinqueremes strong, had set sail to northern Africa. Geminus raided the island of Menix before disembarking on the mainland. The Roman marines went on a pillaging spree, but lost cohesion and fell to a number of Carthaginian ambushes.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, they traveled to somebody else's home.
they did. They did.
It's the same as, Hannibal being up in the boot. He had to learn the terrain there before he just knew how to, you know what I mean? So it was Rome going down to Carthaginian territory. They had to learn, so they were going to lose a little bit.
I think that was also strategic, though. Even losing those troops was like, whoa, they can, even with us kicking the crap out of them on their mainland, they're still sending guys over here. Like,
There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
After losing 1,000 men, the Romans hastily retreated to their ships. Finally, the fourth pillar was handled by Paulus and Varro, who raised 2 further legions before marching south, entrusting them to Praetor Lucius Postumius. His mission was to march into Cisalpine Gaul to lay waste to the lands of the Boii tribe, allied to Hannibal. They hoped to cause mass desertion amongst the Gauls serving with Barca. As Postumius marched north along the Adriatic coast, he recruited more allied troops, bolstering his numbers to 25,000 men. Thus, in July 216 BC, Rome had fielded almost 115,000 soldiers against the Carthaginians, deployed in 2 theatres of operations. As per tradition, Paulus and Varro shared command of their biconsular army by leading on alternate days. The 2 commanders did not see eye to eye. In a pattern observed many times before, Paulus was an experienced and cautious strategist, while Varro, a homo novus, was younger, more impetuous, and hungry for glory. Before
yeah, that's a problem.
Was that a different way of just saying he was a novice general?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why did
He wanted songs. He wanted victories.
He wanted the glory.
He wanted blood. He wanted victory. Yes, he wanted the glory. The other guy, let's have a little strategy. Let's not just rush in there.
Let's win.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe.
Get the glory after you win.
During Apulia, the huge army set up camp, and Paulus addressed the troops. Men of the army, seeing that we have every advantage on our side for securing a victory, there is only one thing necessary: your determination, your zeal. Men who, like you, are fighting not for others, but themselves, or country, wives, and children, and for whom the issue is of far more momentous consequence than the mere danger of the hour, need only to be reminded, require no exhortation. Enter upon this battle with the full conviction that in it your country is not risking a certain number of legions, but her bare existence. The next morning, the consuls broke up camp and after 2 days of march, arrived within sight of the enemy, entrenched near Cannae. As usual, Hannibal had chosen his ground wisely. The small village held a substantial depot of grain and other supplies, and was located on flat terrain, perfect for cavalry operations. Paulus and Varro pitched their new camp at about 50 stadies, almost 10 kilometers away from the Carthaginian positions. Paulus smelled danger and urged Varro to move to a location less favorable to cavalry tactics. But it was Varro's day of command, and the younger consul ordered a sortie towards the enemy. Hannibal ordered a contingent of skirmishers and horsemen to charge at the Roman party, and his attack was initially successful. However, the Roman heavy infantry formed a solid line, thus repulsing the cavalry charges. The Carthaginians suffered 1,700 casualties in this initial skirmish, while Varro only lost 100 foot.
Pretty good.
The next day, still high on victory, Varro pressed to launch a second, larger attack, but it was Paulus's turn to lead. The older magistrate feared an ambush and ordered his men to stay put. Paulus was right, for Hannibal was cooking up his umpteenth ruse. That night he ordered his soldiers to abandon their camp and lay in hiding on a nearby ridge. Before leaving, the Carthaginians left their fires burning and their tents open, exposing heaps of booty to the prying eyes of the Romans. It was an open invitation: come and loot our camp, and we shall massacre you later. At daybreak, Roman scouts reported that the enemy had fled, and their riches were ripe for the taking. Varro and the majority of soldiers insisted on going on a plundering spree, while Paulus urged caution, and dispatched Prefect Marius Statilius to inspect the camp. Statilius soon returned, reporting that he smelled a trap. But
I'm stupid when it comes to stuff like this.
Okay.
Prefect, I'm assuming that's a scout.
It's a rank.
Yeah.
Like I would assume he performed the duties of a scout from going to inspect.
Yeah, it's just a rank, like a centurion, prefect.
Yeah.
It was just a rank.
Okay. So he just sent one dude out to go check out the camp. And
He probably had some sort of a group with him. It might not have just been, maybe it was just him by himself. That's possible.
Varro ignored the report and ordered an invasion of the camp. At the last moment, 2 Roman slaves, previously captured by the Numidians and recently escaped, rushed to the consuls, warning them that Hannibal's entire army was lying in ambush on a nearby ridge. Hannibal had been outwitted for once, and he graciously admitted the temporary defeat, returning to his camp. His food supplies, however, were dwindling, and he knew he had to draw the Romans into battle as soon as possible. For his part, Paulus decided not to take the bait and spent the next 2 days dividing his forces into 2 contingents. 2/3 of his army set up camp on the western bank of the river Aufidus, the remaining third on the eastern bank at about 10 stadies from Hannibal. The latter, perceiving a loss in morale among his troops, deployed his oratory skills to prepare them for battle. "Give thanks to the gods, for they have brought the enemy into this country, because they designed the victory for us. And next to me, for having compelled the enemy to fight, in a place so full of advantages for us. The present contest is for the cities and the wealth in them, and if you win it, all Italy will at once be in your power, and freed from your present hard toils, and masters of the wealth of Rome, you will by this battle become the leaders and..."
Did he get that hood in like South Detroit?
No.
"Lords of the world."
With the cake,
General
too.
Barca then dismissed his troops, ordered them to break up their camp, and then entrench on the western bank of the Aufidus. The next day, an eerie quiet descended upon the plains of Cannae, as both Roman and Carthaginian nerves were racked by the tension of what might happen. As Polybius would write, "There is nothing more intolerable to mankind than suspense. When a thing is once decided, men can but endure whatever out of the catalogue of evils it is their misfortune to undergo." Hannibal decided to break that suspense, sending Numidian riders to harass Roman watering parties on the eastern bank of the river, perhaps knowing that Varro was in charge of the smaller camp on that side. The consul, in fact, was more than ever inflamed with the desire of fighting, and the soldiers were eager for a battle and chafed at the delay. On August 1st, Hannibal further precipitated events. He drew out his men from the camp, amassed them on the eastern bank of the Aufidus, and sent his Numidians to provoke the enemy. It was too much for Varro to bear. It was time to give battle. Once again, Paulus tried to rein him in, but he eventually conceded that battle was inevitable. According to Livy, he specified that he would himself be guiltless of all blame, but would share in all the consequences. Another day went by. On August 2nd, it was Varro's time to lead, and he ordered for the bulk of his army to take position on the eastern bank. The 2 armies thus faced each other on the plain of Cannae, the Romans to the north and the Carthaginians to the south. The battlefield was enclosed by the Aufidus to the west and hilly terrain to the east. The consuls placed a contingent of Roman cavalry on their right wing, along the river, which would be led by Paulus. The center of the formation was taken by the heavy foot, deployed in very close maniples, the depth of each several times greater than its front. The infantry formation was led by Marcus Attilius and Gnaeus Servilius, consuls for the previous year, now serving as proconsuls. The left was composed of Italic allied cavalry under Varro's command. A screen of light infantry was placed in advance of the whole army, which numbered up to 80,000 foot and 6,000 horse. The Roman army appeared as a solid block, a massive fist ready to deliver a deadly punch to Hannibal's face. As for General Barca, he knew he had the cavalry advantage, both in quantity and quality. However, his overall troops were outnumbered 2-1, so he had to go for a more complex battle order. From west to east, his troops were arranged as follows. Close to the Aufidus, the Iberian and Gallic cavalry, led by one Hasdrubal, not a Barca, and facing Paulus's horse. Then a column of elite Libyan heavy infantry, equipped with armor and weapons looted from the Romans. The center of this formation was taken by a crescent-shaped line of Iberian and Gallic infantry bulging towards the Romans. Hannibal himself and his brother Mago stood in command of the center. On the other end of the crescent stood another column of Libyans, flanked to the east by a wing of Numidian horse led by Mahabal and facing Varro. The entire formation was screened by a line of Balearic slingers and javelin throwers. Numbers-wise, Hannibal could field about 40,000 foot and 10,000 cavalry, but his real strength lay in the peculiar formation. Crucially, the columns of Libyan infantrymen were not immediately visible to the Romans, as they had been placed slightly behind the edges of the convex crescent, standing in reserve. As the sun scorched the earth, a southerly wind began blowing clouds of dust into the faces of the Romans, further hindering their visibility. Clearly, Hannibal had no control over the elements, but the wind played to his advantage. His entire plan relied on luring the impatient and reckless Roman heavy foot into the pincer of his Libyan columns, theoretically in plain sight, but virtually invisible to his enemies. The bait placed in front of the hungry she-wolf was the apparently weak and bulging Carthaginian center. Now it was time to set the master deceit in motion. The three Parcae had already been hard at work. Nona had spun the threads of the lives of thousands of young men. Decimer had measured them, and mortar would soon cut them. The Carthaginian Lightfoot surged forward, clashing against their Roman counterpart. Their engagement was indecisive, with neither side gaining an advantage. Next, cavalry commander Hasdrubal sent forth his Iberian and Gallic cavalry, colliding head-on with Paulus's horse. Their movements were hindered by the Aufidus to the west, with both formations failing to perform any outflanking maneuver. Their engagement degenerated into a chaotic melee. The horses came to a standstill, and the riders grappled with each other, dragging their enemies to the ground. The horsemen dismounted and fought bitterly on foot until Hasdrubal got the upper hand, forcing the Roman cavalry into a flight. As Paulus's men fled north along the river, the Iberian and Gallic horsemen gave chase, cutting them down from behind.
You know the cool thing I like about like these older battles, and even up to like, I guess you could say this was it Civil War, I guess. The organized art of war.
Oh, sure.
You lined up on each side. May the best man win. Eventually, essentially, what it is.
Well, I mean, tactics.
Tactics, yeah. There was tactics, but like there was no
Sun Tzu.
there was no ambush. Like there was no ambush tactics as far as sneaky shit, is like meaning like underhanded shit.
Sure. Well, I mean, Hannibal tried to do some sneaky shit, but it got sniffed out.
Dude,
well, yeah.
Dude, wait. You think that they didn't, just because they were on horses with bows and arrows and swords, that they weren't doing underhanded shit?
I guess I'm trying to say this not be political about it, because God forbid. Think of warfare.
Like pigs on fire?
Think of warfare of what we're doing right now.
What'd you say, Butcher?
Didn't the Romans light pigs on fire? And they'd like sick hordes of angry dogs on their enemies. Like, is some dirty
Hannibal
shit.
used elephants.
Elephants. Yep. Elephants.
And those elephants died.
Is monster Oliphants.
Oliphants. All right. Let's wrap this up.
Meanwhile, in the center of the battle lines, both light infantry contingents had exhausted their strength and retreated behind the heavy foot. It was time for the latter to engage. Baying for blood, the front lines of the Romans charged at the Carthaginian crescent. Spurred on by Hannibal and Mago, the Iberian and Gallic foot fought gallantly, checking the enemy's advance. But more and more legionnaires pressed forward, gradually turning the convex line into a concave shape. The Romans converged to the very center of the enemy battalions, adopting a wedge-like formation of ever-mounting mass. The Carthaginian line caved under the pressure, retreating to the south, but not quite breaking up yet. As the Romans appeared to be on the cusp of winning the infantry engagement,
I said their units on the west and the east haven't engaged.
Their heavy infantry, their Libyan infantry, hasn't moved yet.
Yeah, no,
and they still have another force of cavalry.
Pharaoh has some cavalry. And
I'm sitting there going, "Where's those Libyans?"
They're right there. All those.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting.
Yeah, they're gonna slide in and fucking hit those
like
DMs
an unwelcome
hard.
prom date.
Their cavalry wing under Varro was facing off against the feared Numidian horse led by Hannibal. The majority of the Numidians attacked according to their signature tactics, which was riding around the enemy while discharging volleys of javelins. According to Livy, however, some 500 of them appeared to defect to the Romans. They were welcomed into the Romans' ranks, but ordered to stay in the rear, which is when they sprung their perfidious trap. Unsheathing their concealed swords, they attacked Varro's Italic horsemen from the back, hacking at their hamstrings. Caught between the hammer and the anvil, the Italic cavalry broke and rode away to the safety of their camp, pursued by the Numidians. Varro himself, surrounded by a handful of horsemen, fled from the battlefield. The other consul, Paulus, would not be so lucky as to escape with his life. After losing the cavalry engagement on the Roman right wing, the consul joined the centre. Though severely wounded, he continued to incite his infantry to smash through the Carthaginian line. The latter finally appeared to break, and a flood of Roman soldiers continued to pour into the fray. Finally, the Iberian and Gallic soldiers appeared to be breaking into a flight. But was this a spontaneous reaction of a defeated formation, or was it all part of Hannibal's master plan? Neither Polybius nor Livy provide clarity, but they do agree on one point. Just when the Carthaginian centre seemed doomed, the columns of elite Libyans wheeled inwards and started hacking at the Romans. Confusion had taken over. One moment the legionnaires were fighting as a compact fist against a single line of foes. The next, they were attacked from the sides by men clad in Roman equipment. The Iberian and Gallic soldiers reformed their line, and they too started pressing inwards. The biconsular army was now an amorphous heap of desperate men encircled by 3 walls of disciplined, relentless killers.
Amorphous. What did he say?
A little bit.
What did he say? An amorphous group of confused men.
Yeah.
Dude, the columns of elite Libyans wheeled inwards and started hacking at the Romans. Confusion had taken over. One moment the legionnaires were fighting as a compact fist against a single line of foes. The next, they were attacked from the sides by men clad in Roman equipment. The Iberian and Gallic soldiers reformed their line, and they too started pressing inwards. The biconsular army was now an amorphous heap of desperate men encircled by
Amorphous heap of desperate men.
Yeah.
All right.
That's. I mean, that's maybe what we should call the show. For
Welcome to the amorphous heap of desperate men.
Good Lord.
Oh, it'll be well.
3 walls of disciplined, relentless killers, and the worst was yet to come. After winning their respective cavalry battles, both Hasdrubal and Mahabal showed great restraint, and instead of continuing the pursuit of their defeated enemies, wheeled their horse around and charged southwards, smashing into the Roman rear. With the help of his trusted commanders, Hannibal Barca had achieved the nigh impossible, the complete encirclement of a force twice the size of his army. As Hannibal had almost sealed his masterpiece in Roman blood, a secondary action was taking place. Before the battle had commenced, Paulus had stationed 10,000 foot soldiers inside his main camp, on the western bank of the Aufidus. Acting on previous orders, these soldiers staged a sortie, marched southwards and attacked the Carthaginian camp, also on the western bank. Their action appeared successful at first, but the Carthaginian garrison held them back. Seeing that his presence was no longer needed on the main battlefield, Hannibal rushed across the Aufidus to direct the defense of his camp. The Romans wavered and eventually fled back north, pursued by Barca and his men. The Carthaginians cut down 2,000 of the fleeing enemies and surrounded the rest in their camp. Back in the thick of the action, the bleeding, exhausted Paulus had not lost hope yet. If his men maintained a cool head, they could attempt to break the boundaries of the killing field. But too many soldiers were falling under the Carthaginian steel, including dozens of centurions, tribunes, and even the proconsuls Attilius and Servilius. Eventually, also Paulus fell on the ground, covered in blood but still breathing. Tribune Gnaeus Lentulus rode by his side and bade him to take his horse and ride to safety. Make not this battle calamitous by a consul's death. Even without that, there are tears and grief enough. But Paulus refused. Waste not in unavailing pity the little time you have to escape the enemy. Go and tell the senators in public session to fortify the city of Rome and garrison it strongly before the victorious enemy draws near. As for me, let me breathe my last in the midst of my slaughtered soldiers. Indeed, that was what the battle had turned into, a one-sided slaughter. Morta, the third Parca, had severed the threads of thousands of soldiers, falling into a lake of their own blood, as Hannibal's fist tightened without respite. The Romans and their allies, compressed into a killing field of ever-decreasing area, had little space to breathe, let alone to raise their arms and fight. The cavalry had been almost annihilated. Out of 6,000 horsemen, only 70 escaped with Varro to Venusia, some 60 kilometers to the south of Cannae, and 300 dispersed to other nearby towns. The infantry did not fare much better. According to Polybius and Livy, only 3,000 managed to escape, but some 70,000 were slain during the encirclement. Almost every family in Italy would mourn the loss of a husband, a father, a son, or a brother. The military leadership of the Republic had also been almost decapitated. Rome had lost 1 consul, 2 proconsuls, former co-dictator Marcus Minucius, 29 tribunes, 80 senators, and an unspecified number of praetors. Hannibal, on his part, had lost only 5,700 men in total. But the engagement was not over yet. The 2 Roman camps were still garrisoned, even if the larger camp in the west was surrounded. As night fell, the men in the larger camp sent a messenger to the smaller one, asking those troops to join them so they could break through enemy lines. Only 1 tribune, Publius Sempronius Tuditanus, and 600 soldiers accepted the offer. Filing out of the camp at night, they formed a marching shield wall against the Numidian javelins, which enabled them to escape to the larger camp. There, Tuditanus assembled a larger force, with which he was able to fight his way to nearby Canusium. The remaining soldiers in the camp, numbering between 8,000 and 15,000, were all taken prisoner at daybreak. As the sun rose over Cannae on August 3rd, 216 BC, the Carthaginians themselves were shocked at the extent of the carnage, vividly described by Livy. Some were discovered lying there alive, with thighs and tendons slashed, baring their necks and throats, and bidding their conquerors drain the remnant of their blood. Others were found with their heads buried in holes dug in the ground. They had apparently made these pits for themselves, and heaping dirt over their faces shut off their breath. But what most drew the attention of all beholders was a Numidian who was dragged out alive from under a dead Roman, but with a mutilated nose and ears, for the Roman, unable to hold a weapon in his hands, had expired in a frenzy of rage while rending the other with his teeth. This act of defiance showed that the Romans were not going to surrender. In the next episode, we will talk about the aftermath of Cannae, and how the Republic of Rome will rise back up from its darkest moment like a phoenix from the ashes. This is episode 6 of our member and Patreon exclusive series on the Second Punic War. Our kind members and patrons are able to watch 15 episodes showing how the war started, how Hannibal invaded Italy and threatened Rome, how the Roman Republic retaliated in Spain, and much more. We also release 3 new exclusive videos every week, including videos on the Eastern Front of World War II, Spanish Succession, Austrian Succession, Persian Wars, Reconquista, Pacific War, and more.
Did he say Reconquista?
Yes.
To see those, as well as get access to our exclusive Discord, see our schedule, and get early access to all videos, join the ranks of our patrons and YouTube members via the links in the description and pinned comment.
Schedule. I'm surprised he didn't say schedule.
Thanks to our supporters for allowing us to continue doing our dream job. Make sure you are subscribed and have pressed the bell button. Please consider liking, subscribing, commenting, and sharing. It helps immensely. Recently, we've started releasing weekly Patreon and YouTube member exclusive content. Consider joining their ranks via the link in the description or button under the video to watch these weekly videos, learn about our schedule, get early access to our videos, access our private Discord, and much more. This is the Kings and Generals channel, and we will catch you on the next one.
Wow.
There you go.
That's really fucking cool. That's really cool. I have actually already subscribed.
Yeah, that was actually, like I said before, I'm completely dumb when it comes to this stuff. That was really informative. I loved the animation style he chose, how he does it, and how he incorporates the game footage in it. It was seamless. It was awesome. Definitely subscribe to this guy. Definitely follow him, as well as follow us.
Yeah.
I'll see you next time.
Hit that like, subscribe, and leave a comment or something.
Let us know if you want to do more. See you next time.
Yeah.